Hello everyone, I'm Janie McManus, His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Education, and I'm delighted to introduce this session dedicated to sharing highly effective practice. Inspectors are privileged to observe exceptional work happening in schools, colleges, services and settings across the country. Work that truly makes a meaningful difference in the lives of children, young people and adult learners. This session not only celebrates these highly effective practices, but also invites you to reflect on your own approaches to support continuous improvement. If there's something here that sparks your interest, I encourage you to reach out and connect with other colleagues. These connections can foster invaluable partnerships, learning and collaboration. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to all the schools, the settings and services that have generously worked with us to capture and share their practice. Enjoy the session and don't forget to explore more examples on the highly effective practice section of our website. Together, let's continue to collaborate and inspire one another and drive improvement across Scottish education.
Welcome to the Education Scotland podcast. In every episode, we are joined by teachers, professionals and experts to unpack some of the big questions and topics facing the education sector in Scotland. Stay informed with the latest on education in Scotland by subscribing to our podcast.
Our new CLD podcast sharing highly effective practice from across Scotland that has been highlighted in recent progress visits. I'm Susan Epsworth, I'm a CLD Education Officer with Education Scotland and I'll be chairing our discussion today. So Anne, can you tell us just a wee bit about how this work in East Renfrewshire has been identified as highly effective practice and what stood out for you?
Thanks, Susan. In terms of background, we carried out East Renfrewshire's progress visit back in November 2023. During that visit, we heard about the partnership working between Community Learning Development and Barrhead High School. A visit had been added to the programme and I was delighted to be the inspection team member that visited the school to hear about the work. During the visit, I met with the school and youth work staff and with young people engaged in the youth work provision. And what I heard was about how Barrhead High School employed their own youth worker and I believe were about to recruit another. Staff spoke to me about how much youth work approach was recognised and valued and how youth work staff were very much part of school improvement planning. Most importantly, I heard directly from young people who told me about the types of youth work taking place in the school. The young people shared their stories about the positive impact their engagement with youth work had had on their lives. I heard about reduced risk-take behaviour, improved attendance and engagement in a wider range of curricular areas, including the Duke of Edinburgh's award. Other available data also showed increased engagement of young people in other CLD programmes and an increase in the number of youth awards achieved. Young people in that school were also influencing other youth work programmes. It was clear that the school values the role of youth work and recognised its contribution to strong and sustained leaver destination figures. I could go on and on about this work, but I'm going to stop here because I think what's important that you hear from the staff and the young people with us today and that they have the opportunity to share their own story about the positive impacts of youth work in Barrhead High School. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Anne. That's brilliant. So we've got 3 members of staff from East Renfrewshire here with us today. Could I just get you all just to briefly introduce yourself and your job role? So Emma.
Yep, my name's Emma Ball. I'm the CLD lead officer for East Renfrewshire Council and I've got responsibility for youth work.
Thank you. And Kim?
Hi, my name's Kimberly Hunter. I am a community worker for the CLD team and my job role is to provide youth work opportunities and deliver those within the Barrhead community and Barrhead High School.
Thank you. And Lindsay?
My name is Lindsay Potter and I'm a deputy at Barrhead High School, and I did have responsibility for our support department, which meant closely working with our partners in CLD and other partner agencies.
Thank you. So first of all, Emma, if I could just ask you just to tell us how this work came around, what were the issues identified, and how did it all begin?
Absolutely. So CLD and Barrhead High School have an ongoing partnership that dates back 25 years, which is really, really positive. And it's continued to change and evolve over that period of time. In 2021, we looked at how we could refresh our partnership, thinking about what the offer was, as well as how we could strengthen our approaches to joint planning and self-evaluation. And it wasn't that what we had in place before wasn't working, but we recognised the fact that if we were to strengthen both the offer and the way that we work together, that would have an impact on how we support young people in the Barrhead High area.
Great, thank you. And I suppose, Kim, given you were the one working in the school from the CLD side of things, if you could just tell us a wee bit about your role and the support that it offers, that would be great.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time looking at the programmes that we deliver within the school, and we really base these on what is the current needs of our young people, which changes quite often. And obviously that's became quite an integral part of the partnership, where we would be able to sit down with Lindsay, at different times of the year and really be able to look at what we can offer within the school. So whether that being things like what a programme we call Respect TR, which is around really positive relationships and sexual health, and promoting positive choices. So that's a good example of being able to really look at what is needed within our young people. And we actually then over the years looked at who would be the best fit for those type of groups, and we actually thought that would be something that ideally as many young people as possible would be able to get involved in. And we developed Understanding Parenting programme, which was eventually rolled out to all of S3 and S4 pupils within their PSHE class. We did that over a 10-week block. And again, that was something that we developed over time, and looking at the feedback that we were getting from young people, the impact that was having, then be able to really kind of shape the content as well. So we would be looking at the feedback that we were getting from our young people each time that we delivered it, and able to tweak what session they found most interesting and things that they were actually going to be able to take away and that would help them after they had left school.
Thank you. So it sounds like that, bonus question, that kind of youth voice approach and listening to what the young people's needs were was embedded throughout. Was there any kind of specific ways in which you got the views of young people?
Yeah, we always undertake evaluations as we go through our programmes, and particularly when we come to the end of them. We would do this in small focus groups as well, and we would quite often take part in, kind of pulling out our young people who had maybe moved on, whether it be a year or so later, and look at the impact that had on them, and particularly sometimes if young people had left school as well. But trying to make sure that we also get feedback from our staff, so it can be the staff within the school, to see what their opinion is on things as well, and that kind of helps triangulate it as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to jump in, one thing that both the school and we in CLD do is that piece around kind of young people's voice, and actually I think that comes quite naturally to both of us within our partnerships, because we really value the fact that if young people are telling us that something's really working, then we want to see how we can do more of that, or if something isn't working, that we maybe will look at something else. But we have also supported the school with some self-evaluation activity around the PSHE curriculum, for example, in the past, which has given us actions to go away and have a wee think about and look at, but also kind of improvement actions for the school as well. So that's been positive.
Great, thank you. Sorry for the cheeky bonus question, but I knew you would be doing that. So thank you for that. And Lindsay, I suppose from the school's point of view, just what added value did this partnership with Youth Work and CLD bring to the school? And more importantly, what difference did it make to the young people that have been involved?
You know, there's been various benefits for us, and I have to say it's been a very exciting partnership for us, and we're really very fortunate to have such a strong partnership. Emma had touched on back post-COVID, it was time for a refresh. It was a very good time for a refresh because at that point we were facing new challenges, as was every school. And one of the challenges that we were facing was attendance. You know, that idea of bringing young people back into school. And that's the thing with when you're working with CLD, you can be very responsive to what is happening at that time. And at that time, in bringing young people back, they had very good relationships with young people. And they've also got a skill set that perhaps, you know, we don't always have. So we used our partners in CLD to do a lot of team building exercise with our year groups and getting them familiar and working together again and getting them ready for the classroom, bringing them back in there. And that piece of work has been ongoing, if you like, in terms of attendance and that national picture. And we have been working very closely with our partners in CLD with some of our young people in establishing relationships and building up a connectedness with the school through some of the programmes that they deliver. And we've delivered various different programmes together. And one of them, for example, is the DAV programme. Programmes such as DAV and other confidence building programmes have been extremely beneficial to us. And they have access to provisions out with their own team as well. And I'm thinking in particular, Kim has started up a programme. I think I'm right in saying this, Kim, through snowboarding. We've had a snowboarding programme that has led to young people going out of school, taking part in this youth programme, where actually it's led to full-time employment for them. It's led to them. I've had one young person who's come in to visit us last week to say that they're going off to New Zealand to work for 6 months. Absolutely delighted for them. This is such an exciting opportunity for them that they wouldn't otherwise have had it not been for that relationship building between CLD and the school and us putting in measures, working with them. And this was a young person who would tell you himself he was disengaged from school, he wasn't enjoying it, but Kim got that relationship working for him and got him re-engaged, and he's part of our SLDR. It's sitting at 100%.
That's amazing. And thanks for it's always good to hear actual examples of, you know, the young people going through stuff and then what has been the outcome for them and how exciting, and snowboarding, that sounds amazing. What I would like to ask you all is, I suppose, just about any challenges that you've come across along the way and how you overcame them. So Kim, could we maybe start with you on that one?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is for us within youth work, building a good relationship with our young people is paramount. It's, you know, it's what our foundation is based on with them. So we really have to prioritise that, and that sometimes can take up quite a lot of time. So if a young person wants to have a quick chat about something that's maybe not as severe enough that they want to go and speak to a pastoral teacher about, then it's really important that we can be available to that. However, obviously, when we've got time constraints, that can be really, really difficult. But it is really, really important. And on top of that, overall, kind of prioritising the workload that we have. There's loads of different opportunities that we can get involved in within youth work and bringing that to a school. And it's about prioritising the ones which we think are going to be best impact for the school and in particular for our young people. So whether that's you know, and for me as well, sometimes it was maybe that someone else in the team would be better off doing that if they had the capacity. But not sort of wanting to make sure that the young people were getting the best out of it as possible. So not always me having to be the one to deliver everything, and hence why my colleague Paul came in and delivered the Duke of Edinburgh was a better fit, and it allowed me then to focus on other areas and really then look at bringing the best programmes to the school and our young people.
Yeah, just to touch on that a wee bit, we traditionally had a one worker per school model, which worked, but actually when we were going through our refresh, the three of us sat down together and we were talking about the different issues that young people were facing, and actually at that point it was like, well, actually Paul and our team has a skill set which would add value to what we're already doing in the school. So actually moving away from that one worker per school model actually really worked for Barrhead High, and it meant that we could bring additional types of supports to young people. So that was really positive. And the school were obviously really open to that, which helps.
Thanks, Emma. I think it's just about that being flexible to meet young people's needs. That's great to hear. Thank you. Lindsay, I don't know if you've got anything else to say on that, or if there were any other challenges that you came across from school's point of view and how you overcame them.
Yeah, I think sometimes in schools, we're faced with issues and we have to be very responsive to them, and sometimes we're not always equipped to deal with them. And I'm thinking primarily like we have had issues in the local community, like any school, with risk-taking behaviour. And at that point, we've been able to call in the expertise of our colleagues within CLD, who are also working with these young people within the community as well. So they can do a joined-up programme between school and the community. They're also upskilling our staff, and they're helping us to rewrite PSHE programmes to make sure the content is relevant and up to date. And they're having that input in terms of our planning and that upskilling. It's been extremely useful, and we have a Safer Choices programme now that is not only responsive to the needs of young people who've been involved in risk-taking behaviour, but they've adapted that to give a universal offer to both our S1 and our S2 cohorts through the PSHE programme. And again, that's starting that relationship building with our CLD workers early on and building those relationships in school, that then, within the community, they're able to work further with them, for example, in the detached youth work that they offer. So it's been really helpful for us in terms of addressing things that are spilling over into school or things that are happening in the community, to have that expertise.
And it's so beneficial for us in the community as well, actually. So it not only helps our relationships with young people in the school, but it helps our kind of young people walk through the door of our youth facility or our youth clubs, if they've already got a bit of a relationship with the workers that they've met through the youth work in school offer. So it definitely helps for both sides.
Sorry, Susan, can I just add in a point there as well? One of the things that can be quite tricky within our youth work role within a school is other staff understanding what our role is, and particularly because our programmes will change so much. And obviously then on top of that, you've got staff retention changing. So one of the challenges that we had found was around ensuring that the right young people were getting the right opportunities and the referrals were correct. And in the past, it maybe would have been a wee bit more stagnant, but what we sort of introduced was me sort of going along to board of guidance meetings and having that relationship where we can sit down and face to face be able to look at what the programme content was, and me having an understanding of what some of the young people were perhaps like in the community as opposed to in the school, and the staff really trusting the feedback that I was able to provide as well, and having that sort of informal relationship with the staff where I could just go and pop into the office and say, look, I don't think that these are the right young people for this. I think that, we need to go back and look at who were really referring into these groups to make sure that it's the right young people. And that face-to-face aspect of it is really, really important. There's a lot of opportunities that come with that, as opposed to perhaps just reading emails, and people might think, well, I'll come back to that another time.
Yeah, I would just add to that as well that Kim was very visible within the school, and she has her own office here, and I think that's really important, because as a result of that, the young people were always popping in and out to see her, not always because they had a problem or an issue they wanted to discuss, they just wanted to pop in, and that relationship was very strong. But they would also be able to bring ideas of things that they wanted to see happening, or in that informal level, they were always keen to express their opinions and their views. And I also think that CLD in schools is absolutely critical, because the relationship that a young person has with a CLD worker is very different to the relationship that they'll have with a member of staff. And I think it's important that they have that opportunity, to work with a CLD worker and build those relationships, so that they have those opportunities to share information through another adult.
Brilliant, thank you. I was going to ask that question about if Kim had her own office in the school, because having been that youth worker in a school before, I know what a difference that can make. Just being able to have young people and staff come and tap on the door. And I think what I'm hearing from you all is a real common theme about relationships, the relationships with the young people, the relationships between staff, and the partnership, the relationship between the school and CLD. That's all coming through really, really strong. You've all touched on this a wee bit, but does anybody have any more to say about the impact on young people and how you measure those outcomes?
So Kim touched on this earlier on about the way that we gather feedback from young people, but we systematically gather feedback from young people. We use feedback forms, we use focus groups, we use a whole variety of methods throughout programmes, so that we're constantly getting feedback from young people. We also get feedback from staff, from Lindsay and her team, and we use that information during programmes, but also at the end to reflect and adapt what our offer is. But the positive impact that we are having, the things that Anne touched on early on, but we're having a positive impact on young people making positive choices about risk-taking behaviour. There is some increases in attendance. We've got young people progressing on to other opportunities like snow camp and volunteering opportunities within our team. We've got, because of Kim's relationship in the school, we now have a small group of young people from Barrhead High who are a key part of our Youth Rights Association, which is a brand new group that's set up as part of the UNCRC implementation here in East Renfrewshire. And actually those young people coming from lower SIMD areas and actually having life experiences that actually will bring such value to that group. If it hadn't been for Kim's relationship in the school, not sure those young people would ever have got there. So that's been a real progress. In terms of skills, young people are developing their communication skills, teamwork and resilience, a whole host of things through the programmes that we are delivering, that they're using in the groups, that they're using within other classes within school, and also in other areas of their lives, and having a voice in that. In terms of the data that we gather, we are seeing an increase year on year in the numbers of programmes that we're offering in Barrhead High, the numbers of participants that we're working with, both universally and in targeted provision, the numbers of an increase in the numbers of young people gaining accredited awards and 3 or more awards. So that's increasing year on year. So we hope that will continue as we progress our partnership working.
So I just want to ask you all what the next steps are for the ongoing partnership between CLD and the school, and how things might have moved on since the progress visit.
We really want to look at new opportunities for our young people, and particularly strengthening the opportunities around decision making and making, being part of positive change. during the last Scottish Youth Parliament election, that's also within my remit. The amount of young people that we had, first of all, express interest and undertake training, and then go on to stand as a candidate was much higher than previous memberships. So that was something that we really kind of put down to the relationships that we've got within the school, and something that we really want to build on. And as what Emma said as well about our young people that are part of our new Youth Rights Association group, that is something that we probably wouldn't have seen in the past. So kind of looking at further opportunities around that sort of channel.
Building on what Kim was saying there, a big focus in our school now moving forward is development of leadership skills, with a focus on building resilience of young people. And there's a lot of joint work is taking place now in terms of planning for developing further leadership with CLD.
Brilliant, thank you. Emma, have you got anything to add?
Yep, a few things for me about next steps. Obviously, now that Lindsay's changed her remit, it's about continuing to develop our relationship with the deputy who's now taken that on, and ensuring that all the hard work that we've put in place together continues. But also it's about continuing to adapt the offer based on the young people's needs. But also Lindsay and her team, Lindsay might be able to talk a wee bit better about this, but they've developed a kind of tracking system in their school, and they use that to identify the right young people for the right types of interventions, and they've shared that with us. So for me, it's about continuing to develop those kind of approaches about how we are sharing information and data together to have more positive outcomes for some of our most vulnerable young people.
Yeah, our interventions tracker is just a simple way for us to keep track of who's engaging in which interventions and the impact that it's having, because otherwise there's a tendency for an intervention for a young person to keep running on with nobody actually checking in to make sure that it is having the desired impact and whether we actually need to tweak it or change it or stop it. So the interventions tracker for us tracks all of our interventions and ensures that we've got the right people on the right intervention and it's appropriate to meet their needs.
And Lindsay, what advice would you give to a school that's interested in using a similar approach?
Do it, absolutely do it, because the difference that a youth worker can make is incredible. Teachers are always class committed, they don't always have the time to run these types of programmes, and the relationship is also very different, I would say, as well. And I think that youth work adds another dimension to what a school is offering, and I think that they're critical in helping us to meet the needs of everyone. And we couldn't do what we do without their input. They are very responsive. They're very adaptive. They will, if we have something, a young person who presents with an issue today, I can have a youth worker in planning with me tomorrow to help me address and work with that young person. So yeah, they're absolutely integral to schools and what we do, I believe.
Amazing. And Kim, from your point of view, what advice would you give to a CLD practitioner looking to use a similar approach?
I think just to really prioritise the time that's put into building the relationships with the young people, and with staff as well. It is really important, and particularly those senior members of staff within the school. Because without that, we're not going to get the opportunities to attend things like board of guidance meetings and be part of the weekly joint support team as well. And to staff as well, like a wee bit of advice for them would be around, trusting the staff, the youth worker that you've got there, and being really open-minded to what they're able to bring.
I think it's really important that a school knows themselves and understands their needs so that they can communicate that clearly, and you get it right from the planning stage. You can't be guessing about what it is that you're going in to deliver. You need to know what it is that you're going in to do, and you've got measurable targets there in place. So yeah, planning is critical for the relationship and for the partnership to work.
And we've developed a kind of joint planning tool that works for both of us, and CLD and in the school. And that'll change and develop over time, but actually it helps us identify what outcomes we're going to measure for each piece of work, when we're going to review that, and kind of put systems in there. Because in the past, we would have done it from our side and the school would have done it from their side, but actually now we've brought that together into kind of one framework that actually has helped to strengthen that partnership work and that joint evaluation piece as well.
We're delighted to have two young people along who are actually previous pupils, just recently left Barrhead High School. We've got Aidan and we've got Kira. So thank you so much to you both for coming along. And we just wanted to hear a wee bit about the young people that it's actually had an impact on. So I'm just going to ask a couple of quick questions, and we'll start with how you got involved with CLD. And I'll ask Aidan first.
So the first time that I interacted with CLD was during school, I believe. We were doing, I was a really, what's the word? I wasn't majorly bad, but I was a problematic student. So I was just doing reckless behaviour, etc. And I was kicked out of French and I was kicked out of Spanish. And I realised that I got put into Duke of Edinburgh, which most pupils in my situation wouldn't have got. Just because Duke of Edinburgh seems that's what's the word? An amazing subject. It's kind of you're getting to do all sorts of things, learn new skills. That's when I first got in contact with CLD, which is our youth organisation in East Renfrewshire. So we were doing Duke of Edinburgh. I met two amazing guys from CLD, part of Kim's team, and they were just sitting teaching us new life skills and how to eventually pass our Duke of Edinburgh. That's how I first started getting involved with CLD, and then I came along during their summer programs, doing all the trips we were running, going to Go Ape, going to M&Ds, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Brilliant, thank you. And Kira, can you just tell us a wee bit about how you got involved?
So I got involved with CLD kind of in the same way as Aidan. In school, I wasn't really focusing, so I wasn't going to my classes, and I got put in Duke Edinburgh with the same two people, but I didn't do the same stuff as the rest of them. So we got split into two groups when we were in it, and me and one of my friends done mostly cooking and volunteering, and the rest of them went and done fitness. We also learned loads of life skills. We've done so much different things, and we made lifelong friendships with people that we wouldn't have spoke to if we weren't in that group together. I also met the two youth workers that Aidan also met, who were lovely. I then went on to joining a girls group in S3, which I was a bit iffy about joining at first because there was people in there I didn't want to go in with, but the youth worker who took it basically said it doesn't matter who's in there, just be you, be yourself, and I absolutely loved it, and I ended up rejoining it in S4. We learned loads of different stuff. We done a parenting course just to give you an insight of what having a baby was like, so you were a little less silly with school and all that. Also ran for MSYP, which is a member of the Scottish Youth Parliament. I built a lot of confidence while doing that. I spoke in front of big crowds, and then I sadly didn't get it, but I got Youth Ambassador instead, which is really good. It's a really good role, and we get to focus on things that are really important to us. I also done the summer trips that I absolutely enjoyed. I went on a residential, which I done so many different things that I never thought I'd ever do, and that just built my confidence so much. I'm a part of the Youth Rights Association as well, which is a big group of people who've came together, and we're focusing on so many different things. That was where we done the residential together. We have monthly meetings, and yeah, we built so many friendships as well. That's how I got involved with them.
Amazing, thank you. Aidan, you said a wee bit about this, but what difference did it make to you being involved in CLD and particularly the Duke of Edinburgh programme?
Well, at that time, I wasn't like the best behaved student, so I was really problematic. I was just getting in with the wrong crowds, doing just really like stupid stuff. Just yeah, I was like on the verge of getting kicked out of school. And then I was on Duke of Edinburgh. I started behaving better, going to all my classes, getting like a wee bit more respect off teachers, and just overall becoming a better person, slowly but surely. And then I kept on joining the trips during the summer, doing all the other stuff. There's like whitewater rafting, etc. And then we had another trip, which was called Snow Camp, and I wasn't really sure if I'd like it or not. So I went along, and it was an amazing time. It was me learning how to ski, and eventually, after that had finished, I was really like gutted because I wanted to go back, and there was another course, thankfully, called Graduate that Kim had put me on for. That has made like a massive impact in my life because I've essentially done the graduate course, which is 6 weeks, getting taught how to ski and snowboard, and then you can progress onto the last course, which is Excel. But at the time I was too young, so I ended up stopping because I couldn't go to the last course, sadly. And then I came back, still came to the summer trips, but I wasn't really in a good place because like I had nothing else to do. So I was just going down a bad route, and essentially like just in trouble with the police, getting charges and all of that. And then I realised one year, start of this year, sorry, that Kim had I messaged Kim asking about the last course because I was old enough. I'd just turned 16, and turns out there was a couple of spots left. And at this time, I was still going down a bad route, hanging out with wrong crowd, and Kim was a bit unsure about letting me go on it. But I just was persistent about it. Keep on asking her if I can go. She finally said yes. She took like that trust in me to go. I went and ended up abroad doing skiing in Andorra. And then after that, I never thought I would like proceed to do anything else with it. And it turns out I got a job out of it. So I'm now an apprentice with Snow Camp, teaching some of CLD, CLD's young people how to ski and snowboard, doing the exact same journey I had to try to get them on the straight and narrow instead of being going down a dark path, like getting on the verge of getting kicked out of school, in trouble with the police, etc. So I work with all types of young people because of Kim's team, pretty much, for taking a chance on me, which is really, it's a really completely like different. I don't know how to explain it. Like back then, I would never have thought I would be doing this, and now that I'm there, I'm loving it because I get to just talk to young people and tell them about my journey, like where I was and where I am now, and how these certain like the youth workers, they have obviously helped me a lot. My school had helped me, and now my job's like just helping young people get back pretty much to the community. And then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. That's absolutely amazing. And who better to do that job than somebody who's gone through what they're going through and
Yeah.
tell your story. So thank you so much, Aidan. That's amazing. Kira, sorry, coming back to you, what difference has it made in your life?
Well, before I met any of the CLD workers, I was getting involved in things I shouldn't have. I wasn't listening in school at all. I was dogging classes. I was arguing with teachers. And then I obviously joined DOV, but that was good in a way. I'd changed quite a lot, but it wasn't the right thing for me. I then got to meet Kim, kind of see what she was doing, and I started to knuckle down a lot more. I was going into my classes, as Aidan said, got a lot of respect from the teachers because I was respecting them. I'd done a lot of stuff with them. I've worked with near enough the full team. They're all amazing. And I obviously want to be a CLD worker myself. So seeing how each CLD worker works different and how all their jobs are just amazing in their own ways is absolutely amazing to see. I actually got the opportunity to do my work experience with them, which they haven't actually took anybody on before, but because they knew me and I'd showed persistence, I had emailed them myself instead of getting somebody else to do it. I got the opportunity to work here for a week, see how each person works and see the variety of different ways that they all work, and it was absolutely amazing. And I feel like working with CLD has just changed me as a person altogether. Like, I know how to control my anger now. I know how to communicate with others better, and it's made me so much calmer as a person, and that's amazing.
Thank you so much. You guys have said so much, and it's just really great to hear your journeys and really great to hear what your plans are for the future. And I'm delighted as a CLD worker myself to hear about you both going into that kind of areas. Amazing. Thank you so much. Unless anybody has anything to add, I'll just finish off the podcast today, and I just want to take a minute to thank you all for telling your story, for telling us your journey, and to our HMI colleagues for highlighting the work in the first place. We'll be doing more of this, so keep an eye out for some highly effective practice from across Scotland being shared through podcasts and case studies on our website. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for notification of when a new episode is published. If there is a topic you would like to hear featured on this podcast, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on our social media channels for all the latest news from Education Scotland. Education Scotland is a Scottish Government executive agency charged with supporting quality and improvement in Scottish education.